Hi guys, in this video I'm going to explain the new Startup and Innovator visa routes. These have just been announced about a week ago and I'm excited to be doing some of these applications. You can apply from the end of this month. We're now in March 2019 and I've called this episode the Brexit new business immigration routes because they coincide with Brexit, and really they're designed to encourage innovation in the UK and encourage the attraction of scalable startups. I think this is going to be great. It's going to be one of the best, if not the best, incubator stroke startup option for people if you're considering coming to a majority English speaking country to scale up your business. This is for the UK, and on this channel of course you can compare your options internationally for both investor and entrepreneur visas. So let's have a look. Now we'll just start off with the comparison between the two visa routes. So let's just zoom in on this. So the startup visa itself does not lead to settlement. However, the idea behind this is that you start off for 2 years on the startup visa and then you switch into the innovator visa, which does lead to settlement. So the immigration risk, if you like, from the authorities' perspective is pretty low. People initially aren't starting on a basis that they will qualify for indefinite leave to remain, but if they succeed and the business is going well, then they switch into the innovator visa, and that does lead to settlement. Now the really exciting thing about this is that on the innovator visa you have an accelerated pathway to settlement. So as long as you've got 3 years under your belt on the innovator visa, you can qualify for indefinite leave to remain at year 3 of that visa. Now if you started off on the startup visa route, then you would then be in year 5. So let's just have a look at the pathway. Let's just zoom out. Yeah, so you can see here you've got a total 6-year pathway if you're starting on the startup visa. I'm going to explain in a minute how you can go straight into the innovator visa, so you can potentially qualify for indefinite leave to remain after just 3 years. But if you are starting on the startup visa, you have an initial 2 years, then you switch to the innovator visa, and then at year 5 you qualify for indefinite leave to remain. I'll explain the conditions for that, and then at the end of year 6 you can qualify for a British passport. So that's the pathway. What are the criteria then for the startup visa? Let's begin with that. Let's zoom out again and just go into the criteria. Thanks for your patience. This is a live stream, so just bear with me. So you can see here the criteria are innovation, viability and scalability. So your business has got to be viable, scalable and innovative. What does this mean? Well, I mean, I think the elaborations in the actual statutory definitions, or the definitions in the immigration rules, are it don't really take you much beyond that. There's got to be something new about your business. In terms of scalability, you've got to have a vision for significant growth over the coming years, and in terms of viability, you've got to have a business that is commercially viable. Now that would just mean that, of course, for many people, if you are in a startup and you don't have an existing operation, then you might need to demonstrate some either immediate source of funds or a quick pathway to profitability. Many people have startups where they have an income initially from other sources, and it may be that you've got a business already that you want to expand into the UK using this route and using funds and income from that business. Now remember, you do not have to invest in order to be eligible, and this is one of the really powerful things about this visa route. There's no minimum investment amount, but nevertheless, in order for it to be viable, you're going to need to show some source of funding. Where is the money going to come from? What's your pathway to profitability? So that, in a nutshell, is the requirements. Now, the other thing to point out here is that you've got to be endorsed by an endorsing body. Contact me if you want to some insight into which endorsing bodies to go for. My details are just below in the description. But the idea here is that the government is outsourcing its decision-making process to the experts in the private sector, but also higher education authorities, who will be able to take a better view than civil servants. And this is one of the great things about these visa routes, is finally it's happened. They've decided to allow the private sector to actually decide, look, who's good and who's not, who is a real entrepreneur and who's not. Before, under the Tier 1 entrepreneur pathway, you had to put your application before a civil servant who wasn't an entrepreneur, and they had to, or was probably not an entrepreneur, and they would have to assess your application, the merit of your application, whether you really had a prospect as an entrepreneur. That really wasn't fair on people, and it led to a lot of bad decisions. So this is really positive progress. Now let's go back to the diagram, and let's just zoom out a bit. So that's that's the startup visa. So 2 years, and within those 2 years, the idea generally would be, that is, if you want to settle in the UK, I mean, this is all designed to incentivize entrepreneurs to come to the UK to start up their businesses on the basis of a residency program. So assuming you do want to settle, then you will likely be switching here at the end of year 2 into the Innovator visa category for a 3-way pathway to indefinite leave to remain initially, and then British citizenship. Now let's just zoom out a bit. Now, what about the transition? So what do you have to do for the Innovator visa to get onto that? Well, the interesting thing is, and this is the advantage of starting on the startup visa, beginning on the startup visa, is that at the end of it, you've just got to show that your business remains viable, that you have been involved in it. I'm going to be producing another video with a detailed guide on this. But essentially, you don't have to, because your business has already been endorsed under the original startup visa. You're basically being re-endorsed here. So and you do not need to invest anything. And this is the other important thing. If you're switching onto it, then you do not need to show the availability of £50,000, which you would otherwise have to do if you're applying straight for the Innovator visa. So a clear advantage there. Now, if you're applying straight for the Innovator visa and you want to skip the startup stage, then you will need to have 50,000 available at the point that you actually transfer. Let's just zoom in on this. So you need to come in with 50,000. Now, even that it's not a particularly high threshold for most people. And compare the options internationally. I mean, this is going to be, I think, very attractive to a great many people who are comparing entrepreneur and investor visas internationally. The 50,000 can be yours. Crucially, it can be yours. So remember, there is a 50,000 route at the time of making this video. There is a 50,000 route for the Tier 1 entrepreneur, but that needs to be from government funds or qualifying seed or venture capital. But this is very different. The 50,000 can be your own funds, or they can be from a third party, or they can be provided by your endorsing body. So lots of options, lots of flexibility. But you don't even have to have the £50,000 available if you're switching from the startup visa. So you then go on to the Innovator pathway, and the criteria are essentially the same. So your business needs to show innovation viability and that it's scalable. And then you're on the 3-year pathway. Now, what do you need to do within those 3 years in order to qualify for indefinite leave to remain? Let's have a look. So I'm going to go through this list here. At the end of it, in order to qualify for indefinite leave to remain, you need to show that you've spent 50,000 on the business. I say spent, and forgive the euro sign, that's incorrect. That should be a pound sign. You've spent 50,000 on the business, and spent basically means that you've invested it. You've not only invested it in the sense of just depositing it in an account, but that's actually been spent on the development of the business. Or that you've doubled your customers, the number of your customers. Now, this it's not actually as easy as it looks. Doubling customers means that you've doubled the number of customers, but also that the mean level of customers is more than that of the industry average for your sector. And how you measure that is going to be very difficult. So I think that's going to be quite a troublesome criterion. The next one is of much more interest, which is, let me just zoom in on this. The R&D, you've been involved significantly in research and development, and you've applied for IP protection. Now, I think that's going to be, usually for most of my clients, that's going to be the one that they demonstrate, because most of my clients are, or many of them are in the tech field, and there will be, of course, as is implied by the original criteria, an element of innovation, but that will manifest itself in some form of IP that they can then apply to protect. Then you can show as an alternative, remember, you only need to show that 2 of these criteria are met, only 2, not all of them. That there's a gross revenue of 1 million in the last year, or, and this refers to increase in revenue, 500,000 spent, of which 100,000 is export revenue. Or you've created 10 full-time jobs, or 5 jobs, but with an average of 25,000 per year. So clearly I'm going to be producing a lot of more material on this, and a complete guide and detailed guide to everything you need to do to apply. So do subscribe if you'd like to get notified of those videos. But the point is, you only need to satisfy 2 of these criteria. This is going to be a big deal in the business immigration world. It's going to, I imagine, and I hope, achieve the government's intended purpose, which is to attract really high quality entrepreneurs to the UK, perhaps at an early stage of their business, or before they scale up, and to really, enliven London and the other key business hubs throughout the UK. It does compare favourably with the Irish equivalent routes, and I've of course done videos on this channel about that, you may have seen already. And it compares favourably with other jurisdictions such as France as well, but also Canada and the United States. I've spoken recently about some of the challenges with the United States and entrepreneurs setting up businesses there. This is going to be a big thing. This is a brief introduction to you. I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for your time. Bye for now.